Your mind won't stop. Ideas keep arriving faster than you can sort them, a name you need to call, a plan that keeps assembling itself in the dark, the chest tight with something that isn't dread. It's closer to urgency. Like something is trying to get said. It's been building for longer than you think. The moon's recent drift over the Pleiades seeded something in you, a remembering, a sense of unfinished business, old longings surfacing with surprising gentleness. That wasn't random noise. That was preparation. What's happening tonight? The moon conjunct Rigel, June 14th at 6:28 p.m. That's the ignition. And the strange thing, the thing I keep coming back to, is that timing is written in the sky whether we read it or not. Stay with me until the end of this video. What I'm going to show you in the final minutes is the precise mechanic of what opens and closes in the next window. If you leave early, you'll feel the energy but miss the map. Give me until the end. It matters. The moon reaches exact conjunction with Rigel at 6:28 p.m. Eastern tonight, at 20 degrees and 12 minutes of the celestial longitude. Rigel burns blue-white in the constellation of Orion, a supergiant star approximately 860 light-years from Earth, radiating with the luminosity of 120,000 suns. When the moon, our closest celestial body governing instinct, emotion, and daily rhythm, forms a precise conjunction with this stellar giant, the archetypal merger creates what ancient astrologers called a star of aspiration moment. The moon in this configuration acts as a lens, focusing Rigel's expansive, visionary energy directly into your conscious awareness. Rigel has always represented the messenger archetype in stellar astrology, the bearer of information that transcends ordinary communication. Tonight, your lunar consciousness becomes the receiver for transmissions that have been building in the background of your psyche for weeks. What makes this conjunction particularly potent is the moon's waxing phase. We're 6 days past the new moon, meaning lunar energy is in its building, amplifying stage. This isn't a reflective, introspective lunar moment. This is the moon as catalyst, as accelerant for whatever vision or creative impulse has been gestating in you since the lunar cycle began. The combination creates what I call urgent clarity, the kind of knowing that arrives with both precision and pressure. You may already feel this as a quickening in your chest, a restlessness that isn't anxiety but isn't quite excitement either. That physical sensation is your nervous system registering the stellar influence before your conscious mind catches up. The throat chakra, governed by Mercury and associated with communication, often activates first during Rigel conjunctions. If you've been feeling the need to speak, to write, to articulate something that's been wordless until now, that's the conjunction working through you. Stop. Feel that pulse? That's the transit activating in you. When was the last time you felt this kind of expansion? Remember 3 weeks ago, June 23rd, when the moon passed through the Pleiades cluster? That wasn't a random astronomical event. It was preparation for tonight. The Pleiades, known as the Seven Sisters, represent the principle of collective memory and ancestral wisdom. When the moon transited that stellar cluster, it activated what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious, the deeper layer of psyche where personal memory connects to archetypal patterns. You may have felt it as unexpected nostalgia, dreams of people from your past, or sudden clarity about patterns that have been repeating in your life. Some of you experienced it as grief, not for specific losses, but for paths not taken, words not spoken, creative impulses that were never given form. That wasn't depression. That was your psyche clearing space for what wants to emerge now. The Pleiades passage was like tilling soil before planting. It loosened the psychic ground, brought old material to the surface, and created the internal spaciousness necessary for new growth. Tonight's conjunction with Rigel is the planting moment. What was loosened and prepared 3 weeks ago is now ready to take root in conscious awareness. If you've been feeling like you're processing old material lately, revisiting conversations from years past, suddenly understanding why certain relationships ended the way they did, or feeling called to reach out to people you haven't spoken to in years, that's the Pleiades influence integrating. Your psyche has been composting old experience into fertile ground for new creation. The pattern is this: the Pleiades passage activated your personal history and showed you the threads that connect your past to your potential. Tonight's Rigel conjunction takes those threads and weaves them into a vision of what's possible moving forward. Memory becomes fuel for imagination. The past becomes a launching pad rather than a weight. This is why the urgency you're feeling tonight has a quality of rightness to it. It's not arbitrary creative impulse. It's the natural flowering of a process that began weeks ago in the deeper layers of your consciousness. What wants to be expressed now has been composting in the dark, gathering the nutrients it needs to grow into something sustainable. Now, 3 kinds of people are feeling this right now, and I want you to recognize yourself in one of them. These aren't arbitrary categories. They represent the 3 primary ways this stellar energy manifests in human consciousness, based on where you are in your current creative and communicative cycle. The first is those of you who have been sitting on a vision for months, maybe years, something you know is real, something you haven't said out loud because saying it makes it vulnerable. The idea feels almost too large to name. If that's you, something is moving tonight. You've been in what I call the gestation phase, the necessary period of internal development that precedes external manifestation. The vision has been building cellular structure in the dark, like a photograph developing in a chemical bath. Tonight's conjunction is the moment the image becomes visible. But there's more happening here than just creative breakthrough. If you're in this first category, you've likely been experiencing what psychologists call creative anxiety. Not the fear of failure, but the fear of success. The fear that speaking your vision out loud makes you responsible for bringing it into reality. The moon conjunct Rigel dissolves that particular paralysis by making the cost of not speaking higher than the cost of speaking. The energy becomes too concentrated to contain. You either articulate it, or it starts to create physical symptoms: insomnia, throat tension, that particular restlessness that no amount of distraction can settle. The stellar influence works through your lunar consciousness to transform creative anxiety into what I call sacred urgency. The recognition that what wants to be born through you is not optional. It's not a hobby or a side project. It's a responsibility to the larger intelligence that's trying to work through human consciousness. If this resonates, pay attention to what wants to be written down in the next 48 hours. The conjunction doesn't last long, but its effects can anchor a creative cycle that extends for months. The second category is those of you who woke up recently feeling restless in a way you can't explain. Not depressed, not lost, just unable to stay still inside your own life. A sense that something needs to change, but the shape of the change isn't clear yet. This is what happens when the messenger archetype is activated but hasn't yet identified its message. You're receiving the transmission, but the content is still assembling itself. If you're in this second group, you've been in what I call the precognitive phase of a major life transition. The moon conjunct Rigel tonight is likely to bring the first clear glimpse of what's been building in your unconscious. This isn't about dramatic external change necessarily, though it can be. It's about the internal reorganization that precedes conscious choice. You've been feeling the gravitational pull of a future version of yourself that you can't quite see yet. The restlessness you've been experiencing is actually your psyche's way of loosening its attachment to current patterns that no longer serve your evolution. It's uncomfortable because you're in the space between stories. The old narrative of who you are is losing its grip, but the new one hasn't fully formed yet. The stellar conjunction tonight often provides what I call the golden thread, the first clear glimpse of the connecting principle that weaves your past experience into your emerging future. Pay attention to what captures your attention in unexpected ways over the next few days. The books that suddenly seem relevant, the conversations that stick with you, the random encounters that feel significant. The messenger archetype often works through synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that point toward the information your conscious mind needs to receive. If you're in this category, you're not scattered or unfocused. You're in active reception mode, and the conjunction is about to deliver the organizing principle you've been waiting for. So far, we've explored how stellar conjunctions create transmission pressure and why your recent past has been preparation for this moment. You can already feel it when you notice the ideas arriving faster than you can sort them, the sense that something is trying to get said. But there's something we haven't addressed yet. What happens when brilliant inspiration meets the shadow of scattered attention? The third category is those of you in the middle of a genuine momentum, ideas flowing, connections forming, a project gaining traction, but also that nagging scatter, the feeling of too many tabs open, too many directions pulling at once. This is the shadow side of Rigel's influence, brilliant inspiration without sufficient focus. You're receiving multiple transmissions simultaneously, and the challenge is learning to prioritize without losing the creative flow. If you're in this third group, tonight's conjunction is both a gift and a test. The gift is an amplification of your already active creative channels. Ideas that have been percolating suddenly crystallize. Connections between seemingly unrelated projects become obvious. The test is whether you can channel this increased flow without dispersing your energy across too many directions. The key insight for this group is understanding the difference between creative abundance and creative overwhelm. Abundance feels expansive and energizing, even when it's intense. Overwhelm feels scattered and depleting. The moon conjunct Rigel can tip you toward either state, depending on how consciously you work with the energy. If you're feeling overwhelmed, the solution isn't to slow down or restrict the flow. It's to identify the single most important thread and follow that one with complete commitment, allowing the other ideas to remain in peripheral awareness without demanding immediate action. Whoever you are among these three, this sky has something specific to say to you. The conjunction is not a generic cosmic event that affects everyone the same way. It's a precise celestial moment that activates different potentials depending on where you are in your creative and communicative development. Here is the first thing almost nobody is saying about tonight. The restlessness in your chest right now is not a problem to solve. It is information trying to reach the surface. You may have felt it as tightness in the shoulders, in the throat, that particular tension that sits just below speech. The body registers this before the mind catches up. What's alive in that tightness is the messenger archetype, the part of you that carries something real, something worth transmitting, something the world around you actually needs to hear. Internal family systems psychology tells us that what feels like one emotion is rarely one voice. Inside what you're calling urgency right now, there are multiple parts. The part that has the vision, the part afraid to speak it, the protective part that keeps rewriting the opening sentence. Naming the exact voice that's speaking diffuses the charge by 70% in seconds. This is not metaphor. This is how the nervous system actually works. The throat tension you're feeling is what happens when the messenger archetype activates, but encounters internal resistance. It's not that you don't know what to say, it's that multiple parts of your psyche are having a conversation about whether it's safe to say it. The visionary part has received the transmission clearly. The protective part is running risk assessment. The perfectionist part is trying to find the exact right words. The people-pleasing part is calculating how the message is received. This internal negotiation creates the physical sensation of something stuck in your throat. But here's what changes everything. The sensation isn't telling you to wait until the internal committee reaches consensus. It's telling you that the message is ready to be born. And the resistance is just the natural friction that occurs when something moves from the internal realm to the external world. The moon conjunct Rigel creates what I call transmission pressure. The stellar energy builds until expression becomes inevitable. You can work with this pressure consciously, or it finds its own way out through dreams, slips of the tongue, or sudden impulses to write or speak. Working with it consciously means recognizing that the message wants to be born through you, not by you. You're not the author of the vision, you're its vehicle. And here's where the energy shifts. The energy concentrates in the throat and the lungs tonight, yes. But energy that concentrates also has a natural release. Breathe into the chest right now, slowly, deliberately. The quicksilver hum you're feeling is not anxiety, it is perception sharpened to an unusual degree. This is what it feels like when the cosmos guides your path with precision rather than chaos. Some of you are feeling this as electric excitement, the kind of aliveness that makes you want to stay up all night, writing, planning, creating. Your nervous system is interpreting the stellar influence as pure creative fuel. You feel like you accomplish months of work in the next few days. This is one valid response to the conjunction. The energy is genuinely available for focused creative work, and if you can channel it without burning out, you may indeed accomplish more in the next week than you have in the past month. Others are feeling this as agitation, the same electric quality, but interpreted by your nervous system as overstimulation. You want to move, to act, to do something, but you're not sure what. The energy feels too intense to contain, but also too scattered to direct effectively. This is equally valid. Your nervous system is responding to the same stellar influence, but your current life circumstances or internal state aren't optimally configured to channel it into focused action. Both responses confirm that you're aligned with the cosmic moment. Both indicate that the conjunction is working through your consciousness exactly as it should. The difference isn't in the quality of your connection to the stellar energy. It's in your current capacity to metabolize high-frequency information without overwhelm. If you're in the excitement category, your task is to channel the energy without depleting yourself. Set realistic goals for what you can accomplish while the energy is peak. Plan for the natural come-down that follows intense creative periods. Don't make commitments based on how much energy you have right now. Make them based on how much energy you have next week when the conjunction has passed. If you're in the agitation category, your task is to find constructive outlets for the energy without forcing premature action. Physical movement helps. Walking, dancing, any activity that allows your body to discharge the electrical buildup. Journaling helps, getting the swirling thoughts out of your head and onto paper where you can see them more clearly. Creative play helps, drawing, singing, any form of expression that doesn't require a specific outcome. The waxing moon amplifies forward motion, but it also confirms that you are in the right current. You don't have to force this. You are already moving in the direction the sky intended. But there's something underneath the vision that needs to be looked at. The visionary archetype carries a shadow, and Rigel, brilliant, blue-white, burning tens of thousands of times brighter than our sun, has always known this. Brilliance without grounding doesn't build, it burns. You may have felt the shadow side of tonight already, the cycling between enthusiasm and doubt, the half-started plans, the tendency to announce before the foundation is laid. The stomach drop of recognizing you've scattered your attention again across 6 directions when one needed everything. This is not a character flaw. This is Prometheus, before he learned to carry the fire carefully. The shadow of restless dissatisfaction is not here to shame you. It's here to show you where the anchor needs to go. The Rigel conjunction amplifies whatever is already active in your consciousness. If you've been in a creative flow, tonight intensifies that flow. But if you've been struggling with what I call shiny object syndrome, the tendency to start multiple projects without finishing any of them, Tonight can amplify that pattern too. The stellar energy doesn't discriminate between focused inspiration and scattered impulse. It simply increases the volume of whatever signal you're already broadcasting. This is why some people experience Rigel conjunctions as breakthrough moments, while others experience them as overwhelming chaos. The difference isn't in the stellar energy itself, it's in the internal structure that receives and channels that energy. If your creative life has clear priorities and established rhythms, the conjunction feels like rocket fuel. If your creative life is already fragmented and unfocused, the conjunction can feel like trying to drink from a fire hose. The shadow manifests in predictable ways. You start announcing projects before you've done the foundational work. You commit to timelines that sound impressive but aren't realistic. You mistake the excitement of the initial vision for the sustained energy required to bring it into form. You burn through your enthusiasm in the first week and then wonder why the momentum died. But here's what's actually happening in the shadow. You're trying to use inspiration as a substitute for discipline. You're hoping that the intensity of the initial vision carries you through the mundane work of daily execution. It won't. Inspiration is the spark that lights the fire. Discipline is what keeps the fire burning long enough to cook the meal. The moon conjunct Rigel can create what I call false urgency, the feeling that you need to act on every idea immediately or lose it forever. This is the opposite of true creative urgency, which knows how to discern between ideas that need immediate action and ideas that need time to develop. False urgency creates busy work. True urgency creates focused action. If you're feeling scattered tonight, if the ideas are coming too fast to process, if you're tempted to start 3 new projects before finishing the one you're already working on, pause. The energy isn't going anywhere. The conjunction peaks tonight, but its effects ripple forward for weeks. You don't have to capture every idea in the moment it arrives. You need to capture the one idea that's ready for sustained development. Here's the hidden message. The ideas arriving tonight are real. What determines their survival is not their brilliance, it's the single next concrete step you're willing to write down and actually take. The test of whether you're working with the energy consciously is simple. Can you choose one direction and follow it with complete commitment, even when other possibilities are calling for your attention? If you can, you're working with the messenger archetype in its mature form. If you can't, you're still in the apprentice phase, learning to distinguish between inspiration and impulse. So far, we've explored the 3 archetypal responses to tonight's conjunction and why both excitement and agitation confirm your alignment with the cosmic moment. You can already feel it when the energy concentrates in your throat and chest, demanding some form of expression. But there's something we haven't addressed yet. How do you work with this intensity without burning out or scattering your focus across too many directions? Now let me give you the relief, because this sky, for all its electrical intensity, is not asking you to sprint. Here's what you need to know about working with stellar conjunctions without depleting yourself. First, recognize that inspiration has its own natural rhythm. The conjunction creates a peak moment of receptivity, but the energy doesn't disappear when the aspect becomes exact. It integrates over time. You don't have to capture every idea tonight or lose it forever. The important insights return, often in more refined form, as you create space for them in your daily life. Your task tonight is not to download everything at once, but to identify the single most important thread and follow that one with sustained attention. Second, understand the difference between creative urgency and creative anxiety. Urgency feels like purposeful pressure, energy that wants to move in a specific direction. Anxiety feels like scattered pressure, energy that doesn't know where to go. If you're feeling anxious about all the possibilities opening up, that's usually a sign that you're trying to hold too many options simultaneously. Choose one. Commit to it fully. Let the others remain in peripheral awareness without demanding immediate action. Third, work with your body's natural energy cycles rather than against them. The conjunction may be keeping you awake tonight, but that doesn't mean you should pull an all-nighter trying to capture every inspiration. Use the heightened awareness to identify what wants to be developed, then create a sustainable plan for that development over the next several weeks. Marathon creative sessions during stellar conjunctions often produce quantity without quality. Sustained daily practice produces both. Fourth, remember that the most important creative work happens in the integration phase, not the inspiration phase. Tonight gives you the raw material. The next several weeks give you the opportunity to refine that material into something that can actually serve others. Don't mistake the intensity of the initial download for the finished product. The vision you receive tonight is a seed, not a harvest. The conjunction is temporary. Its effects are lasting. Work with the temporary intensity to plant seeds that grow over time, rather than trying to force immediate manifestation of everything you're seeing tonight. Between June 18 and June 20, the next threshold opens. The sky presents a binary at that moment, not a spectrum, not a gradient. Two outcomes, two directions, one choice point. This is when the energy you're feeling tonight either crystallizes into sustainable creative momentum or disperses into scattered activity that leads nowhere. The difference is determined by how you use the next 4 days to channel what you're receiving tonight into concrete action. The threshold I'm referring to is the sun's ingress into the summer solstice on June 20th, combined with a significant lunar aspect on June 18th that I'll detail in the next video. But here's what you need to know now. The window between tonight's conjunction and that threshold is what I call a manifestation corridor, a period when the veil between vision and reality is unusually thin. During manifestation corridors, your actions carry more weight than usual. Decisions that might normally take weeks to show results can manifest outcomes within days. This is both an opportunity and a responsibility. The accelerated manifestation works for both conscious choices and unconscious patterns. If you use these 4 days to take focused action on your most important creative priority, you see results faster than you expect. If you use these 4 days to scatter your attention across multiple projects, you create a pattern of scattered results that can take months to untangle. You earn recognition, wealth flows, authority crowns your efforts, or arrogance burns bridges, honors slip through grasping hands. It's binary. There is no middle lane on this road. What determines which side you land on is whether you lead with service or with ego. That is the fulcrum. Not talent, not timing, not luck. The precise orientation you bring to the window between the 18th and the 20th determines which of those two outcomes becomes yours. The ego approaches creative work from the question, what can I get from this? Recognition, money, status, validation. These become the primary motivators. There's nothing inherently wrong with wanting these things, but when they become the driving force behind creative action, they create what I call extractive creativity. Work that depletes both the creator and the audience because it's designed to take rather than give. Service approaches creative work from the question, what can I offer through this? The recognition, money, and status may still come, often more abundantly than when they're pursued directly, but they arrive as byproducts of genuine contribution rather than as the primary goal. This creates what I call generative creativity, work that energizes both the creator and the audience because it's designed to give rather than take. The stellar conjunction amplifies whichever orientation you bring to it. If you're approaching your creative work from ego, tonight's energy amplifies your ego patterns, the need for immediate recognition, the tendency to overpromise and underdeliver. the temptation to announce projects before you've done the foundational work. If you're approaching your creative work from service, tonight's energy amplifies your service patterns, the willingness to do the work whether or not anyone notices, the commitment to quality over speed, the natural humility that comes from knowing you're a channel for something larger than yourself. The threshold between June 18th and 20th tests which orientation you've chosen. If you've been operating from ego, that's when the consequences become visible. Projects that looked promising suddenly hit unexpected obstacles. Collaborations that seemed solid suddenly fall apart. Opportunities that seemed guaranteed suddenly disappear. If you've been operating from service, that's when the support becomes visible. Resources appear when you need them, the right people show up at the right time, doors open that you didn't even know existed. This isn't cosmic punishment or reward, it's simply how energy works. Ego-driven action creates resistance because it's trying to extract from the field of possibility. Service-driven action creates flow because it's trying to contribute to the field of possibility. The threshold period amplifies these natural consequences until they become impossible to ignore. Here is what that means for you, and why the next 48 hours matter more than they appear. The sky doesn't announce its windows loudly, it simply opens them. What you do in the quiet before the threshold is what positions you for what comes after. This is not about perfect readiness, it's about conscious entry. First, identify the single most important creative project or communication that wants to emerge from tonight's conjunction. Not the most exciting, not the most potentially profitable, not the one that makes people notice you, the one that feels most aligned with your authentic creative purpose. Write it down in one clear sentence. This becomes your North Star for the next 4 days. Second, ask yourself honestly, am I approaching this project from service or from ego? What does it look like to approach it from pure service, as if the outcome didn't matter to you personally, but the quality of your contribution mattered enormously? Let that question guide your planning and execution over the next 4 days. Third, take one concrete action toward your chosen project every day between now and June 20th. Not huge actions, small, consistent ones. The manifestation corridor responds more powerfully to sustained daily commitment than to sporadic bursts of intense activity. Each day's action should build naturally on the previous day's action, creating momentum rather than scattered effort. Fourth, pay attention to how the universe responds to your actions during this period. If you're aligned with the energy, you notice unusual synchronicities, unexpected support, resources appearing when you need them. If you're fighting the energy, you notice unusual obstacles, communication breakdowns, things taking longer than they should. Let this feedback guide your approach rather than pushing through resistance. And finally, remember that the threshold is not a deadline, it's a doorway. You're not trying to complete your project by June 20th. You're trying to position yourself to walk through the doorway that opens on June 20th with clear intention and sustained momentum. What matters is not how much you accomplish in the next 4 days, but how consciously you use these 4 days to align with the larger pattern that's trying to emerge through your creative work. The conjunction tonight gives you the vision. The next 4 days give you the opportunity to anchor that vision in practical action. The threshold gives you the doorway to step into the next phase of your creative development. Work with all 3 phases consciously, and you find yourself in a completely different creative landscape by the end of June. The moon conjunct Rigel has shown you what wants to be born through your creative consciousness. The manifestation corridor gives you the time and space to plant that vision in practical reality. The threshold gives you the opportunity to step into a new level of creative authority and authentic expression. These are not separate events. They're 3 phases of a single cosmic process designed to support your evolution as a conscious creator. You are not receiving this information by accident. You are not feeling this energy by coincidence. You are being called forward into a larger expression of your creative purpose, and the cosmos is providing the exact support you need to make that transition consciously and sustainably. Trust what you're feeling tonight. Act on it over the next 4 days. Step through the threshold with clear intention and sustained commitment. And remember that you're not doing this alone. You're part of a larger wave of conscious creators who are using this cosmic window to birth new forms of authentic expression into the world. Here is what that means for you, and why the next 48 hours matter more than they appear. The sky doesn't announce its windows loudly, it simply opens them. What you do in the quiet before the threshold positions you for what comes after. This is not about perfect readiness, it's about conscious entry. Between June 18 and June 20, the next threshold opens. The sky presents a binary at that moment, not a spectrum, not a gradient. 2 outcomes, 2 directions, 1 choice point. It's binary. What determines which side you land on is whether you lead with service or with ego. I give you the precise mechanic in the next video. Rigel just lit something in you, and that light doesn't extinguish when this video ends. Carry it forward, act on it before the window closes, and come back for the next video, because what I'll show you there is the precise mechanic of what this energy unlocks, and exactly how to step through it without burning the bridge behind you.